All right, let's get ready to dig into some ancient wisdom today.
Mm-hmm.
We're going deep on the idea of the Good Shepherd.
I love it.
And you don't need like a theology degree or anything to follow along with us today.
Right.
We're going to be looking at how this metaphor, and it's from this article called The Good Shepherd's Love, a life-changing sacrifice.
Oh, okay.
And it's from this blog called Positive Affirmations. But we're going to look at how this whole thing is actually surprisingly relevant to your everyday life, whether you're, leading a team or raising a family or even just kind of figuring out your own path.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me how an image like this from ancient shepherding practices can still be so powerful today.
Right.
For the people who first heard Jesus talking about this. It wasn't just some abstract concept.
Okay, so set the scene for us.
Sure.
What made the shepherd such a strong image way back then?
Well, shepherds in that time and place, they weren't just, casual farmhands or something. I mean, their lives were totally intertwined with the sheep. Yeah. I mean, they knew each sheep individually. They could tell what they needed, and they would defend them like crazy. Huh. I mean, risking their own safety to protect them from predators and things.
So it's more than just leading.
Right. Yeah.
It's this intense personal responsibility.
Yeah.
But, I mean, most of us aren't spending our days fighting off wolves.
Right.
So how does this shepherding idea translate to leadership today?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The Good Shepherd model kind of flips the script on how we usually think about leadership.
Okay.
It's not about commanding from a distance. It's about being present and involved and understanding the needs of each person that you're leading.
Right.
The article calls this servant leadership, which is putting the well-being of the people.
Yeah.
You're leading first.
So ditch the CEO in the ivory tower image.
Right.
It's more like a coach on the field or someone in the trenches.
Yeah, exactly. Think about a parent who's really embodying this. They aren't just, laying down the law.
Right.
They're building trust with their kids through honesty and patience.
Right.
They're setting aside their own needs to really listen and understand what their kid is going through.
Totally.
That's shepherding in action.
And I bet this goes way beyond just parenting, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'm picturing that coworker.
Yes.
Who always has your back. The one who not only listens to you.
Right.
But they actually offer support.
Yeah.
And helps the whole team succeed.
Exactly.
Even if it means that, they don't get the spotlight.
Yeah, totally. That's Good Shepherd leadership in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But here's where I think it gets really challenging.
Right.
The article isn't just about admiring the Good Shepherd from afar.
Right.
It's asking us to look at our own leadership styles.
Oh, okay. So it's time for some self-reflection. Are we leading with humility and a willingness to put others first, or are we stuck in that command and control mode?
Right.
I mean, it's easy to say be a good shepherd.
Sure.
But how does that actually play out in everyday decisions?
Well, let's talk about sacrificial love.
Okay.
Which is really at the heart of this whole Good Shepherd metaphor.
Yeah.
We often think of this as some big heroic gesture.
Right.
But the article is saying that it's actually about making small, consistent choices that put others' needs before our own.
So not waiting for a burning building to prove your bravery.
Right.
But more like doing the dishes even when you're exhausted because your partner had a long day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The article gives this example of a working mother who's constantly juggling her own needs with the demands of her job and family. It's not always glamorous,
right?
But those everyday acts of service,
yeah,
those choices to prioritize the well-being of others, that's where sacrificial love really shines.
That resonates with me. It makes me think about all those times when I've seen people just quietly step up for each other. Not for recognition.
Right.
But just out of genuine care.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced that? A moment when someone's sacrificial love really impacted you?
Oh, for sure.
What made it so powerful?
What strikes me is that it's not just about doing things for people.
Right.
It's about creating that feeling of safety. Knowing you're not alone.
Yeah.
That someone is really there for you.
It's a powerful thing to experience and an even more powerful thing to offer to other people.
Totally. It builds trust on a whole other level.
Yeah, it does.
And that trust, that feeling of connection.
Yes.
It seemed like that's the foundation for the kind of strong relationships the article talks about building, right?
Absolutely.
Those relationships where you can truly be yourself.
Yes.
And know that you're supported.
Exactly. The article actually gives a pretty clear how-to guide for this.
That doesn't?
Yeah. Based on this whole Good Shepherd model,
Okay.
it boils down to 3 key things.
Okay, I'm listening.
Be present, prioritize listening, and lead by example.
Okay, so let's unpack those a little bit.
Okay.
What does it actually mean to be present in a relationship in a way that goes deeper than just like physically being in the same room?
Well, think about all those times you're with someone,
Yeah.
but your mind is totally somewhere else, you know, scrolling through your phone or mentally making a to-do list.
Right.
Yeah, true presence means putting all that aside and giving the other person your full attention.
Okay.
It's about tuning in to their words, their body language, even like picking up on what's not being said.
It's almost like becoming a detective of the heart.
Yes.
Looking for those little clues to what someone's really feeling.
Exactly.
I mean, that takes way more effort than just nodding along while you're thinking about what's for dinner.
It really does. And that level of presence creates a space where the other person feels heard and understood.
Right.
And that's where the next step comes in.
Okay.
Prioritizing listening.
Gotcha.
And this is more than just waiting for your turn to talk.
Right.
It's about actively trying to understand the other person's perspective, even if you don't agree with it.
You know, this whole listening thing makes me think about how we often approach like disagreements.
Right.
It's like we're so busy defending our own position that we don't even try to understand where the other person's coming from.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where this shepherd mindset can really make a difference.
Totally.
Yeah.
Imagine like a shepherd trying to force a sheep to go in a certain direction. It couldn't work.
Right.
Instead, they use gentle guidance, you know, understanding the sheep's instincts and needs.
Yeah.
In the same way, when we truly listen to someone, we can actually understand their motivations and work together to find solutions, even when we disagree.
Okay, but listening and understanding are one thing.
Right.
How do we actually lead by example? It's like that old saying, actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not enough to just talk about being a good shepherd.
Right.
We have to actually live it.
Yeah.
The article gives this example of mentorship, which I think is such a powerful way to embody this.
Yeah.
It's about sharing your knowledge and experience to help someone. What about the sheep?
Right.
The article kind of hints at this, but I'm really curious to explore it further.
If we're all part of these different flocks, our families, workplaces, communities, are we all just passively following along?
Right.
Or do we have a responsibility to be good sheep too?
Yeah.
What does that even mean in a world that's so complex?
That's $1 million question.
It is.
And I think it challenges us to move beyond this idea of just blindly following the leader.
Okay.
A healthy flock thrives when the sheep are active participants.
So paint me a picture.
All right.
What does a good sheep look like in real life?
Okay.
What qualities do they bring to the flock?
Well, for starters, I think it's about trust.
Okay.
But not blind trust. It's about having enough faith in the shepherd to follow their lead, but also being discerning, asking questions, and speaking up when something doesn't feel right.
So it's kind of like being a loyal member of the team.
Right.
But also being willing to challenge the coach. If you think they're calling the wrong plays, you know, you're not trying to undermine them.
Right.
But you care enough to voice your concerns.
Exactly. And that takes courage, especially when it might be easier to just stay silent.
Sure.
But a good sheep also understands that their actions impact the whole flock.
Right.
They're not just looking out for themselves. They're contributing to the well-being of the group.
So it's about being a team player.
Yes.
Supporting your fellow sheep. Understanding that the strength of the flock comes from everyone working together.
It does.
But what about when things get tough?
Right.
I mean, life throws us all curveballs.
It does.
Those moments when we need to tap into like a deeper source of strength. How does this whole shepherd metaphor play into that?
That's where it gets really profound.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about the shepherd's role as protector?
Yeah.
Well, that protection extends beyond just physical safety.
Right. It's about finding a sense of security and stability, even when the world feels totally chaotic.
So like having that anchor in a storm.
Exactly.
What does that look like practically?
Okay.
Where do we find that strength to weather the tough times?
The article talks about 3 specific anchors.
Okay.
Scriptural foundations.
Okay.
Community support. And prayerful guidance.
Got it.
Now, these might sound a bit traditional.
Yeah.
But I think they have universal applications.
Okay.
No matter what you believe.
So let's break those down.
Okay.
What are scriptural foundations
Right.
in a way that someone who's not particularly religious
Right.
can relate to?
Think of it as finding those core values.
Okay.
Those principles you hold dear.
Yeah.
That provide a sense of direction and purpose.
Right.
For some people, that might be rooted in religious texts,
Uh-huh.
but it could also come from philosophy, ethical codes,
Okay.
even family traditions.
So it's like having that internal compass.
Those guiding principles
Exactly.
that help you navigate life's choppy waters, no matter what storm you're facing.
Right. And then there's community support.
Okay.
This goes back to the idea of the flock finding safety in numbers.
Right.
It's about surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, who you can lean on when you're struggling,
Yeah.
and who will celebrate your successes with you.
It's about having that tribe.
Yes.
Those people who embody the spirit of the Good Shepherd. The ones who offer a listening ear,
Right.
a helping hand,
Yeah.
or just a shoulder to cry on when you need it most.
And finally, there's prayerful guidance.
Okay.
Now, this might not resonate with everyone,
Yeah.
but I think it speaks to something universal.
What's that?
The need to connect with something larger than ourselves.
Okay.
A source of wisdom and strength that can help us through tough times.
So whether that's prayer in a traditional sense,
Right.
or meditation, connecting with nature,
Yeah.
or just taking time for quiet reflection.
Exactly.
It's about acknowledging that we don't have all the answers and being open to receiving guidance
Right.
from a source we trust.
Exactly. And I think this ties into the idea of being a good sheep
Okay.
in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we're not meant to go through life alone.
Right.
We need each other, both to offer support
Mm-hmm.
and to receive it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So in a way, this whole Good Shepherd model
Right.
isn't just about one person leading and everyone else following.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a shared responsibility.
Yes.
A mutual dependence where everyone plays a role
Yeah.
in ensuring the well-being of the flock.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really important question.
Okay.
If we're all part of this interconnected web,
Yeah.
what does it mean to be a good sheep?
Right.
In those moments when we disagree with the direction the shepherd is taking us,
Ooh, that's a good one.
it is.
Does loyalty mean blindly following along? Or
Right.
is there a way to voice your dissent without undermining the whole flock?
Yeah.
I'm eager to hear your thoughts on that. That's the tricky part, right?
It is.
Balancing loyalty with the courage to speak up,
Yeah.
especially when it might ruffle some feathers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like nobody wants to be that sheep,
Right.
the one who's always bleeding complaints
Yeah.
and causing chaos.
It's a delicate dance for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the Good Shepherd model actually gives us some guidance here.
Okay.
Remember how we were talking about servant leadership?
Yeah.
A really good shepherd isn't threatened by different voices.
Okay.
They're open to feedback, even criticism,
Mm-hmm.
because they understand that it makes the flock stronger in the end.
So it's not about blind obedience,
Right.
but about making a space where honest dialogue can happen,
Yes.
where the sheep feel safe enough to share their concerns,
Mm-hmm.
knowing they won't be punished for speaking their minds.
Exactly. It takes trust on both sides.
Yeah.
The sheep need to trust that the shepherd has their best interests at heart, even if they don't always agree with their decisions.
Right.
And the shepherd needs to trust that the sheep are coming from a good place,
Yeah.
not just trying to make trouble.
That makes me think about those times when a leader makes a decision
Uh-huh.
that seems totally off base.
Yeah.
Like they're leading the flock straight into a thicket of thorns.
Right.
And everyone's getting all scratched up.
Yeah.
Is it our responsibility as good sheep to say something?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we just have to trust that the shepherd knows best?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's an easy answer,
Right.
but I think it goes back to those principles of discernment and courage that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
A good sheep is observant.
Right.
They're paying attention to what's going on around them, listening to their gut,
Uh-huh.
noticing when things just aren't right.
So if you see the flock heading for danger,
Yeah.
even if the shepherd seems totally oblivious,
Right.
you don't just blindly follow along.
Exactly.
You speak up. You try to redirect the group,
Mm-hmm.
even if it means going against the grain.
It takes courage,
It does.
especially when you might be the only one who sees the danger,
Right.
but sometimes speaking up is the most shepherd-like thing you can do.
Yeah.
Even if you're not the leader,
Right.
you're looking out for the well-being of the whole flock.
It's like that saying, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
Yeah.
Sometimes being a good sheep means having the guts to stand up and say, hey, this isn't right.
Absolutely. But it's also about how you say it.
Oh, right.
Remember those principles of empathy and respect?
Yeah.
Even when you disagree with the shepherd, you do it in a way that's helpful, not destructive.
Okay.
You offer different solutions, you explain your concerns calmly and rationally, and you always show respect for the leader's position.
So it's not about being like a rebellious sheep, bucking the system just because.
Right.
It's about being a responsible member of the flock, using your voice to help the whole group.
Exactly.
Even if it means having some tough conversations.
Sometimes those tough conversations can lead to amazing breakthroughs.
Oh, wow.
When the shepherd and the sheep can talk openly and honestly, they can find solutions that work for everyone.
It's like that saying, iron sharpens iron.
I like that.
When we challenge each other respectfully, we all get stronger and wiser.
Yeah, but let's be real. Those disagreements can get pretty heated sometimes.
Yeah, they can.
How do we make sure that conflict doesn't wreck the whole flock?
Right.
That's where those principles of forgiveness and grace come in.
Okay.
We have to remember that we're all imperfect.
Yeah.
We make mistakes, we have blind spots, and sometimes we just get things wrong.
So even when things get messy, even when feelings get hurt, we have to find a way to extend grace to each other.
Yes.
Both shepherd and sheep.
It's like hitting the reset button, remembering that we're all on the same team, even when we disagree.
This whole Good Shepherd conversation has really challenged me to think differently about leadership and relationships.
Right.
And even my own role in the different flocks that I'm a part of.
It's not just about following or leading. It's about creating a culture of trust and respect and responsibility.
And that's a powerful message.
It is.
That really connects with the article's message of love and sacrifice.
It's about looking beyond our own needs and focusing on the well-being of the whole.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with this sense of hope. That even in a world that can feel chaotic and divided, the Good Shepherd model shows us how we can build stronger relationships with each other.
Absolutely.
Healthier relationships, more fulfilling relationships.
And whether we're the shepherd or the sheep, we all have a part to play in showing love and service and sacrifice and making a world where everyone feels seen and heard and valued.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today on this deep dive into the Good Shepherd. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. And maybe even a little bit challenging.
Until next time, keep exploring. Keep questioning and keep striving to be the best shepherd and the best sheep you can be.